that really resonate.
Be glad to do that. Be glad to do that.
Folks, we still have the phone lines open here. If you want to call in, Ron, if you want to call Ron Gibson, as you can see, it's not that hard. The last caller just proved that. 215-867-8255. 215-867-8255. If you want to speak to the constitutional lawyer, that's on every other week, Ron Gibson. Next week we'll have Gene Pringle on, which I know Ron and Gene are friends. Gene handles pretty much, he's a tax guy. He does all sorts of tax issues, and Ron handles, and he does some tax stuff, but Ron handles pretty much almost everything else, especially when it comes to land, mining, law, that type of stuff. Well, let me ask you a question here as a side note. Do you see with President Trump, you have an interest in mining, and I didn't read your bio here, but we know if you've given a listen before, you have some mining interest there in Oregon, I believe. Do you see the mining, do you see that type of stuff making a comeback with Trump? The environmentalists have come in and basically Montana, you can't cut down a tree, a branch off your tree pretty much in your own home without environmentalists suing you here in Montana. Do you think that's going to change? Do you think that Trump's going to deregulate a lot of stuff so we can start utilizing some of the mining resources we have and the timber and that type of stuff?
But to answer your question, the answer to that is yes. I don't know if I mentioned or not, but there's a film that was made probably 25 years ago, whatever the time has been, maybe 30 years ago. It was a mining promotional film that showed the necessity of mining. And every time I hear the green people, I call them the gangrene, think that you can do away with mining and have this green society, this utopia, is so far from the truth, it's scary. There have been numerous studies that have been done. But the point that I wanted to make in this film, they come to the point, they ask a very profound question. And here is the question: what would our life be like without mining? And the camera shows a woman in her home. Well, that's a woman's domain, and I think that's wonderful. But anyway, the camera moves up to the clock on the wall, and the clock disappears. The camera then swings over to the toaster, and the toaster disappears. Then the coffee pot disappears. Then the refrigerator disappears. The stove disappears. And it goes all the way through this discourse of things disappearing in this home. Pretty soon the countertops are gone, the sink's gone, the cabinets are gone, the windows are gone, the table floors are gone, and ta-da. And if it would have taken it to its rightful degree, the woman would have been standing there with absolutely nothing on, because it takes mined material to do textile industry and trucks to transport and on and on and on. And so the mining industry has taken horrendous abuse. Is there room for improvement? There most certainly is. But you can't stop that simply because your shelves, even your food stock, would no longer be on the shelves. There would be no hardware, there would be no cars, be no airplane, no forks, no spoons, and on and on and on it goes. So to answer your question, it is making a comeback, and rightfully so, simply because it's tied to national defense. I teach mining law, and one of the things that if you look at the mining law under Title 30, Section 1801 versus 1811, it's all tied to national defense. The mining law was enacted right after the Civil War. H.R. 365 was enacted in 1866, right after the Civil War. And both the North and the South recognized that they were very much deficient in military hardware, spoons, belt buckles, tents, on and on, guns, muskets, cannons, whatever. And it was due to the fact that they did not have the adequate resources, the mine resources, of which to make the these military items. You look at our modern day military with the jets and the missiles and the lasers and all of this stuff that's been enacted and developed. 99 and 100% of those items have to do with a mined product. There's an old saying, if it isn't grown, it's mined, and that's true. The American people or anybody anywhere cannot deal without mining, either on a minute scale or a massive scale. And we're not ruining the earth to dig up minerals from the ground. God put them there. They're there for our benefit. And we need to do it responsibly. I don't question that at all. But you don't kill an industry like they did the timber industry just because the greenies don't like it. They benefit from that every single day. You stop and look when you brush your teeth, you're dealing with a mined product. When you wash your face, you're dealing with a mined product. Even though it's fabric, and it took mined products to make the washcloth. And look in the mirror, that's a mined product. And it goes on and on and on and on. And I'm just saying, people do not realize the strategic importance of mined products and mining. The people who produce those products to make the blessings and the products that we depend on and buy every day of our life.
So I'm sure you've heard the saying, Ron, and you'd probably agree with it. All wealth comes from the ground, one way or another.
And that's true. That's true.
Ron, we just run out of time here pretty soon. Things can go by so fast. So back to the topic here, the breach of fiduciary trust. How can people move forward when they realize that their fiduciary trust has been breached, which it's probably not too hard to figure out since they do it, sounds like every day, almost in every ruling. How do people fight back? You're not suggesting going to a corporate attorney. Can people file their own, can they do pro se and file their own complaints? How do they go about doing that, Ron?
Well, the first thing, first of all, you don't have to run and file a lawsuit. It's a last resort. What you do is group of people individually in groups is to go down to the county commissioners hearings, meetings, whatever you want to define it as, and you start complaining. And don't just one go, but there's only one that stand up and stand your ground. But the more people that go and put pressure on them, then in essence that starts getting some beneficial results. Now, I want to digress from that just a moment. One of the biggest problems that we have in our country that we elect in most instances, not all, but in most instances, we elect people to an office for the wrong reasons. We don't investigate what they are. We don't look at what their background is. We don't look at what their moral value is, what their principles are, or whatever. And when we do that, contrary to doing the investigation into whatever the person that's claiming they want to serve us, and is a breach of fiduciary duty on our part.
Wait, Ron.
The Bible says that.
You mean to tell me that we're just running out of time. You mean to tell me that because someone has nice hair, that's not a good enough reason to vote for them? You know, you're crushing the hopes of so many people when you say that. Ron, we're just out of time. I'm going to give your, apologize, Ron, we can pick that up when you come back in a couple of weeks. Ron's number is 541-621-5548. 541-621-5548. And you can reach Ron's email at dritecrg@hotmail.com. That's dritecrg@hotmail.com. Ron Gibson, we're just out of time, brother. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm on the network and it's going to end here in a minute anyway. Ron, we appreciate you coming on the broadcast. We look forward to talking to you next time, my friend.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care, brother. Okay, folks, we just are out of time. We're coming to the end of the program.